So then the next question is, well, hold on, how do statins work? And that's the question you asked me earlier. And it's a great question. It's a really important one. Statins do have a small benefit, but one of the properties of statins, which isn't talked about, is they have anti-inflammatory and anti-clotting benefits. So even though they lower LDL cholesterol, the real benefit in preventing heart attacks and strokes is through that mechanism. But when you break it down, as I said before, your risk is, the benefits are about 1% if you're low risk of heart disease. But if you've had a heart attack, and many patients I see have had heart attacks and they get automatically put on statins, and the cardiologists rarely even check their cholesterol, because in the cardiology community, we kind of knew that. It was like, it doesn't matter what your cholesterol is, let's put them on a statin, because the trials show there are benefits. But what are those benefits when you break them down in absolute terms? This is really crucial and important. And this isn't cherry-picked stuff. This is what all the evidence shows, and it's been peer-reviewed, etc. If you've had a heart attack, patient comes to me, doc, shall I carry on this statin, or I've been put on this statin, or I'm getting side effects? I say to them, listen, let me just explain to you the benefits first, so that you don't have an exaggerated fear of stopping your statin, and you also don't go around with the illusion of protection thinking that's the only thing I need to do now. Over a 5-year period, if you take your statin religiously and don't get side effects, right? Because remember, the trials took out people with side effects. So best case scenario, your benefit of a statin is 1 in 83 for saving your life, right? And 1 in 39 in preventing a further heart attack. Now, a lot of people find that quite underwhelming. Another way of looking at the statistics, Joe, and this is important for populations, looking at those trials. And what I'm about to tell you, when I talk at conferences to doctors and general practitioners, and there's like a gasp from the audience, right, when I tell them this. And this is published in the BMJ. So in the randomized trials, you look at an average. How much, well, if I ask you that question, right, you've had a heart attack, let's say, for example, and statins are one of the most prescribed drugs, are the miracle cure, whatever, one of the most potent beneficial drugs in the history of medicine. If you take a statin for 5 years, having had a heart attack, in that 5-year period, how much would you think or hope it would add to your life expectancy? You've literally survived a heart attack, right? And now you've been given this pill, which your doctor's telling you you must never stop. This is going to save your life. How much would you hope it would add to your life expectancy over a 5-year period? Over that period, we can incrementally.
25%, 30%.
Yeah. Okay. So a few years. I'll add a few years extra. Yeah. You want the answer?
Yes.
Just over 4 days.
4 days.
4 days.
Maybe those are great days, though.
Well, no, fair enough. Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
but this is, so, and the reason I'm mentioning that is when you look back over the last few decades and people talk about what has driven down death rates from heart disease, there's this assumption it's been the mass prescription of statins. Millions of people are taking statins. But the evidence suggests there's a separate analysis done. They looked in European countries, high-risk and low-risk people of heart disease over 12 years. Was there a reduction in heart disease death rates because of statins? And the answer was no. And that doesn't mean that the data is fraudulent. It's been misrepresented. But if you accept, say it's a 4-day increase, right? But these are in people who didn't get side effects who were adherent to statins. And real-world data tells us, Joe, even people who've had heart attacks, maybe 50% of them will stop taking it just within a few years, mainly because of side effects. You can understand why that hasn't had an impact on the population. But think about that. This is one of the most powerful, lucrative drugs in the history of medicine. And this is how marginal, let's be polite here, how marginal the benefits are.
Now, once this information has been out there and it's been published and you've had these talks and people are aware of this, what has been the reaction? And has there been any change in how it's prescribed?
So after this publication, the BMJ initially, and then I had to get another job, right? So I lost that job in that hospital. I then ended up working for free briefly in another NHS hospital, cardiology department there. I worked for free, doing 1 day a week, because I had another role with health policy, which I'll come on to, that they were paying me some money and I didn't want to stop seeing patients. So I was working for free in one hospital for a year in a cardiology department. In sort of March 2014, I got a phone call, in fact, an email initially from the editor of the British Medical Journal. And she said, Aseem, let's have a meeting. I think I went to meet her and she said, there is a man called Professor Sir Rory Collins. Professor Rory Collins is probably considered in the world the lead statin researcher. He's at Oxford University. He got his knighthood from the Queen because of his work on statins. He has said that you need to retract Abramson and Malhotra's papers because there is a significant error on the side effect issue, and this is going to cause harm. People are going to stop their statins. And she said straight away, no, I'm not going to retract it, but we're very happy if you would like to publish it, send a critique in and we'll publish it. But for some reason, he decided he didn't want to do that. So this back and forth was going on. And then out of the blue, he decides, whether it was him or somebody else, to go to the Guardian newspaper. And I get a phone call from the Guardian and the BBC, which again was headline news, that what Abramson and Malhotra had done, it became a news story, front page of the Guardian, was so damaging in terms of their error on the statin side effects issue that people will die, essentially. This is almost as bad as they were trying to make parallels with Andrew Wakefield and the whole measles, mumps, rubella issue that happened many, many years ago. That was the scientist that lost his license because he linked the MMR vaccine to autism, right? So they were trying to create that kind of frenzy. And I'm like, whoa, this is okay. So I went on BBC and I stood my ground. And that, I think, put the BMJ under pressure. And then the next thing that happens is, I remember I was with my cousin in New York. I'll never forget this. And I get an email, a press release from the BMJ, which I knew was going to, and this is, to be honest, it's an attack on one's credibility. But the BMJ then decided they were going to send our articles for an independent review, whether or not they should be retracted. And Joe, just to put things in context here, that's potentially career destroying in the sense that if my article got retracted, it got so much publicity, and I genuinely believe what I said was correct, but it gets retracted, then your credibility is undermined pretty much forever. And your career's, it would be career destroying for me. I'm at the beginning of my career. So I was on trial essentially for 2 months, if you like. And, it was tough. It was very, very tough. There was a panel, they convened, they asked me to, send in responses and then whatever else. I didn't know what was going to happen. And then I think it was August 2014. I remember it broke the news and it was, I got an email and basically the panel had come back 6-0 unanimous in our favor.
Wow.
There was no call for retraction. Because John Abramson went through a lot during that period as well. I know you interviewed him.
Yes.
And we talked and whatever else. When that happened, Joe, there were two things that I could have done. One,